The Dare County Board of Elections meeting for Tuesday, May 26th is in session. Present at the meeting are all board members and Director Michelle Barnes. There'll be no public comment because we're being live streamed. Approval of minutes.
Madam Chairperson, I would like to call for a closed meeting to discuss a personnel matter before the regular meeting.
I'll second that.
Okay,
We
Aye.
need a majority.
all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Are we shut off, Matt? Dare County Board of Elections will go back into regular session. During the closed session, we received advice from council. Now we will continue the discussion if the board chooses to do so.
Yes, Madam Chair, I'd like to offer a motion pursuant to the matter that we discussed in closed session. And my motion is, having raised the issue in executive session of what appears to be a conflict of interest on the part of Judy P. Lotus, who is a member of the Board of Directors of the League of Women Voters of North Carolina, and having participated in a decision in that body and having filed, the League of Women Voters having filed civil action number 20-CV 457 in the U.S. District Court for the Middle District of North Carolina, and having given Judy Lotus the opportunity to show cause why this board should not find a deviation of acceptable ethical conduct, the Dare County Board of Election finds that Judy P. Lotus has an impermissible conflict of interest and should be removed as a member of the Dare County Board of Elections forthwith.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Or
Aye.
wait, we should allow discussion first. Judy, did you want to say anything?
No, I will let the law prevail.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? No. No public comment today. Approval of minutes.
I move they be accepted with the exception of on page 2, seconded by LOTUS. LOTAS.
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
Motion to approve. Judy,
I moved.
second. Fair motion, second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 No vote.
You're not voting for the minutes?
Pardon me?
Are you voting for the minutes, to approve the minutes?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
You can go ahead and do the director's report.
Okay. We have had new registrations and requests for absentee ballots that we're still continuing to process. The office has been quiet as far as foot traffic. We haven't had people coming in, but we're answering phone calls and of course taking registrations and such through DMV. Also, Buildings and Grounds has received our ballot drop box, and they are going to install that for us. They couldn't do it last week because the weather was not desirable, but they're going to post that outside of this building in the front. So if you're looking at the Justice Center, it will be on your left, just in the flower garden, right there to the left of the steps. That's where County Manager Bobby Outen has requested that we put it. That way someone can drive up and deposit their absentee ballot or any other documents that they wanted to provide to us. The box it will be inserted on concrete on the ground, and it will also not be able to be removed or destroyed. So we're grateful for that to be taking place. That's all I have.
Will they have a placard or something on it to explain what it is?
It'll- It'll explain what it is. And on our website, I'm going to have a photo of the drop box so that the voters, the public will be able to see where we have it installed.
Okay, bids for election supplies. this election is going to be extraordinarily expensive. And so we need to make sure that we're very careful how we're spending taxpayers' dollars. Michelle sent us some invoices for supplies that they used in the last election. And the different supplies have never been put out to bid. And when they started this many years ago, I doubt that there was a printer in Dare County, but now there are several reputable ones. So, Ken, I think you said that when you ran the numbers that we were paying like 25 cents a ballot. Is that correct?
Yeah, 22 cents on the ballots, yes.
Yeah. I saw nothing on the list of supplies. In fact, there were some supplies that weren't on that list, like the envelope for provisional ballots. When we send out absentees, we have to have an envelope for it. We have to have the request for it. We have to have a stamp for it. So this stuff adds up quite a bit. Then when they send it back in, requesting the ballot, we have to have an outer envelope that will hold a ballot, the instructions, is that correct? And an envelope to mail it back to the board. So we're also going to need, it looks like, wrapped one-time use pins. I think on the,
Excuse me, Madam Chair. This is on the agenda for the subcommittee, so I'm not sure why we're going into it now.
well, I think putting something out to bid and discussing this should be a board matter.
Well, the recommendations of the subcommittee are not before us yet, so it's under discussion by the subcommittee. And so I would suggest that you wait until the recommendation from the subcommittee is brought forth. We're not going to resolve this today.
Okay, but I still think it's a budgetary matter, and it's really, I don't think under the,
It will be before the board in due time. I'm just not sure what you're trying to accomplish this morning. It's on the agenda. It's one of the things that the subcommittee is reviewing and looking at, and it will come back to this board in its recommendations in due time.
Excuse me, I thought the subcommittee was looking at geographies, looking at buildings.
The charge of the subcommittee, and we can look at the minutes if you like, is to look at the logistical and operational planning for the November election.
That's not all inclusive. I mean, what does the board do then?
The board makes a decision when the committee comes back with a recommendation.
well, we're on a
I'm not sure
time,
what's confusing about it.
okay, we're on a time clock now. And these things some of these things need to be settled sooner rather than later. And this is a fiscal matter because we're going to have to amend our budget. And at some point, we don't know what's happening with the state and those monies, how much of those monies that we're going to get. So I don't think that's the appropriate place for it to be. I think it needs to be the full board.
The full board will make a decision.
But it needs to be sooner rather than later, James, because there's material and stuff that we need to get together before we can even bid it.
Everything that the subcommittee is dealing with needs to happen sooner rather than later. Lots of the decisions that we are looking at, they'll all come back to the board. And but we're not going to resolve this in this meeting today. It's just not, we don't have the information in front of us to do that.
Well, that was one reason why we were going to discuss it today, so that we can start getting all that information together.
That's exactly what the subcommittee is doing.
Do I hear a motion from the board to go ahead and start the process for bidding?
I so move.
Do I hear a second? Matter tabled.
Well, you can't just table it. Sounds like to me that the motion failed. That's what you should
The
say.
motion did fail. You're correct.
Okay,
I
okay.
misspoke.
Excuse me, the only thing we really are talking about is the amount of money we need. And we got that from, We got what we need for our bids from our Dare County guy. And we're talking, under the old system, total cost was less than $30,000. So we had no problem with getting bids. We just found anybody we liked. But this one's gonna be probably between 30 and 90,000. So what we're working on now is getting the specs and getting a couple printers who can review the specs to tell us what it's gonna cost them. So that's what's being done currently. Because we are under this $30,000 to $90,000 bidding table, we have more work to do and get more information to the printers so we can get them out in time and get the stuff back to the board. That's what we're talking about. This thing that the email you sent out, that from Dustin, that's the one we're working on. Because these bids, the old bids, are gonna be too low. The basic ballot prices are not gonna change. What's gonna change is the mail-in problems, the mail-in envelopes, all the stuff you discussed, the second envelopes, the mail-in envelopes, the equipment, the instructions, the stamps. That's gonna be higher than it was in the past. So that's why our bidding is going up. That's why we have to get this stuff out to the printers to give us some dollar knowledge.
Correct. And the things like the instructions for absentees, I think Michelle said that they had been just printing those out in the office. I think we might have had 100 absentees last election, if that. But now we're talking about possibly 6,000 to 7,000. And 6,000 to 7,000, it wouldn't be feasible to do those all in the office. Just the staff time and burning up copy machines. So all of those things need to be on the list. And we need to look at who's footing the bill for this, and it's Dare County taxpayers. The county budget is woefully short. Our economy is short. And so I think that we need to make a concentrated effort to allow locals to bid on this too. So when do y'all plan on having an update?
We have an update today, but we'll have an update at the next meeting.
Okay, our next meeting isn't for a month unless we set another meeting.
We are fully prepared to have an update at our next meeting, and it's up to the board to decide when the next meeting will be.
Okay, I would suggest that we have the next meeting.
As we are looking for an update of the subcommittee that you chair.
Our next scheduled meeting is June 30th. Last of the month.
Oh, I've done something to this again.
How about Monday or Tuesday of June, 1st or 2nd?
Tuesday, June 9th?
No?
That's next week.
That's next week.
Yeah.
I'd suggest Tuesday.
Are we gonna have anything by that time, or is that too soon?
I don't know, James is saying you are.
I'm looking at the 16th or the 23rd.
I can't do the 16th, that's my ABC meeting.
Okay. Can we do it the 17th? That will give 2 weeks to get the stuff together, make it look like we know the presentation.
17th's okay with me.
Not I.
Not you, okay? Well, surely,
Thursday, 18th?
What time? 17th.
no good, she's got it. Can we do this after this meeting when
Sure.
we're just spending a lot of time here? Let's get our meeting done and then we can set up our scheduling,
That's fine.
okay?
Yes.
because that way we'll all have a chance to sit down and make some intelligence. That's the bids, okay.
Okay, 2020 election plan update.
Yes, so the subcommittee has moved forward with respect to both the matter that you just mentioned, which is looking at all purchases that the DARE Board of Election makes, because as you stated, that the next election will be fairly expensive one. We expect the turnout to be very strong. And so we are certainly looking at ways that we can save money where possible and meet every expectation that that's in front of us with respect to a complete, fair, and accurate election. So we will continue in that vein. We are gathering information at this point. With respect to, I've indicated at our last meeting that we expect to make some changes with respect to sites, poll sites where people vote. There are 16 such sites in Dare County. We have visited 11 of the 16. We were to have that completed, except the weather prevented us from going down to Hatteras Island last week. And we will complete that tomorrow. So we will have a report at our next meeting about our assessment of the various sites, all 16 in Dare County. We are planning for the worst case scenario. Obviously, we hope that we won't have to realize or see the worst case scenario, but we're planning for the worst case scenario. As a part of this review, we are also looking at schools, and we have now visited either 4 or 5 schools, and by tomorrow, the end of the day tomorrow, we will have visited the schools that we think could help as sites for voting. So the complete report will be in front of us at our next meeting. I don't want to prejudge our recommendations, so I'll merely say that that we have visited 11 of the 16 sites in Dare County, and we've visited 6 schools in Dare County, and that work will be completed tomorrow. I don't know if Ken or Jim want to add to what I just said.
No.
Okay. Communications plan somehow got dropped from the agenda, but Judy and I've met. We started with going through all the forms and seeing if there's anything there that needs to be cleaned up, and we found a few things. And we're going to, we're planning on doing a series of information releases to the public and over the next few months. And I was really glad to see that it may change before it gets to the governor's office, but there is money allocated for extra outreach for this election in the legislation that's in the works now. And I think it's about $6,000 a county so that would be nice. We would have that to use for some nice ads and posters and that kind of thing. One of the things in there that was interesting and I had kind of forgotten about because there's never anything said about it and might be really relevant this year are the student assistants. And those we can use as long as they're 17 years old and they're paid the same thing as all other assistants. And they must be recommended by their principal and signed off on by their parent. If they're 17, they cannot work as a judge. If they're 18, they could. I would rather not have someone that young, but we don't know what's in front of us as far as poll worker availability for this. Another thing that we're going to have to keep an eye on and might take more communication, and I'll take some decisions from this board, is the legislation that's on the table right now has money to help with extra staffing if you adopt 8 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. at both the offsite sites. That might be a problem for us. And so we'll have to make that determination when the time comes. And that's all we can do on that. The state has said that they will, they plan on purchasing personal protective equipment, but we don't know at this point. It's going to be per registered voters in counties. And so we don't know how much we might get from that, but there's some personal protection that's going to have to be provided to the public at large if they want it, but that'll come in down the road. We're also, and I hope to set up a meeting sometime this week or early next week with Dorothy Hester in public relations to get some ideas from her. One of the things that Judy brought up is the use of social media that attracts young people, and Instagram is a good way to go there. And I know the county uses it, and the state board uses it, and a lot of the other elections things. So we're working on a series of things, and hopefully we'll have the outline completed before the next meeting. Is there any old business? Any new business?
I would, just for sake of clarity, like to suggest that, consistent with my motion that I introduced earlier, that this board will forward a request to the state board to issue a determination regarding the capacity of Judith Lotus to continue to serve as a member of this board.
So are you filing a complaint? Is that what you're saying?
Now, the motion is that we determine, this board has now determined that Judy's conduct represents a conflict of interest, and we're referring that to the state board for a final determination.
Well, that means filing a complaint, doesn't it, Michelle?
Well, my motion stands as it is, and the state board can make the determination that they feel necessary.
Okay, so you want to file a,
So you want me to contact Caitlin?
No, I want you to contact the state board.
And ask about.
Yes, and the board can do with it, confer it to Caitlin or to Karen or to whoever it chooses. But the action of this board is to bring it to the attention of the state board.
Will do.
all right. Anything else? Do I hear
I
a
have
motion
nothing.
to adjourn?
I make a motion, we adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we need to pick a date.
Yeah. Jim, Jim,